today I'm going to show you how to make these, a low-carb, sugar-free cinnamon sugar roll. Really, you hear low-carb and you think yuck, but believe me, these taste better than they even look right now.
So the first step is you're going to take the water and warm water, and you're going to put in, if you don't buy the jar of yeast, you're going to put in 1 package of yeast. If you buy the jar, you're going to put in 2 1/4 teaspoons. That's what it equals. So you're going to let the yeast get foamy. A lot of people ask me, well, how do you know if it's foamed up enough? I can tell you my secret. If it starts smelling like beer, then it's done. So you're going to let this sit and get, it takes about, I would say, 10 to 15 minutes for it to foam up. So you put this aside, and while you're waiting for this to poof up, you can do the other things. Like, as an example, this recipe also requires scalded milk, melted butter, and an egg. So I scald my milk, which means just warming it up to about 80, 82 degrees. And then you take it off the stove. I put it in a little bowl. And then I put my melted butter in there. And then I also put my egg in there. Then the next step is putting a 1/4 cup of sugar in your stand mixer. Now I'm making this a sugar-free, low-carb version. So I'm using Splenda, so that's why it may look different.
So the next step is I would take that mixture that I showed you, the butter, the milk, and the egg, and I would pour it in here, okay? Now, the following ingredients need to be mixed. I also forgot to mention that there's salt in with the sugar as well.
Okay, so the next part of the recipe is incorporating some flour mixture into what we put into the stand mixer. Now, this recipe calls generally for about 4 cups of all-purpose flour, which is about 90 grams of carbs for each cup. If we used all of that flour, each cinnamon bun would equal to roughly about 35 carbs per cinnamon bun, which is pretty high because they're not very big. So what I did was I substituted 2 cups of the flour for almond meal. Almond meal is just almonds toasted, then ground up. It's expensive if you do it that way, and if you buy it from the regular supermarkets, they're pretty expensive there as well. For me, here in Massachusetts, the cheapest place to purchase almond meal is Trader Joe's, and it's $3.99 for about 5 cups of almond meal. So what I did was, we're going to start off with 2 cups of my flour mixture, which is 1 cup of flour and 1 cup of almond meal. And what we're going to do is we're going to place that into the stand mixer, okay? And we're just going to mix that until it's all incorporated. All right. So, oops, I think I need to switch hands. I definitely need someone to record me.
It's just that when I decide to make these recipes, no one's ever around. I think that's probably why I cook, because no one's here and I'm bored. Okay, so we've included that in there. Oops, I don't have my attachment on. All right, let me put it on and I'll put the video back on. Okay, so my stand mixer attachment is back in. And I notice sometimes I sound muffled. It's because I'm using my cell phone to record, so I have my finger near the microphone button without paying attention. So we're going to set it on low just for it to get all mixed up with the liquid. Okay. So while this is mixing up, you should be preparing the other 2 cups of the mixed flour, which is another cup of all-purpose and another cup of almond meal. Again, substituting 2 cups of regular flour is going to bring down the carb content from about 35 grams of carb per cinnamon roll down to, I would say, about 18 to 20. Actually, it's about 18 grams of carb for the cinnamon roll, which is a huge difference. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it's well incorporated. You can see the almond pieces in there, but that's okay. I'm telling you, it's not going to have an almond taste. I mean, like I am talking, you have to have the best palate in the world to pick up on the almond because I'm also mixing it with regular flour. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in the yeast mixture. Okay, remember that yeast mixture that we had made? And we're going to make sure that's incorporated in there. Okay, so the yeast mixture is in there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly incorporate that flour mixture 1/4 cup at a time, because I want to make sure that I'm not putting in too much because then it becomes too dry. So, I mean, I say 4 cups total, but it could be somewhere around 3.5. It really depends. So we're going to slowly incorporate it until the dough is workable. I would say after everything's incorporated, I would have it you would put in your kneading attachment, and have it knead the dough for about 10 to 15 minutes. You can also knead by hand, but it's 2012. I'm not going to knead by hand. No offense to the people who enjoy it, but to me it's a lot of hard labor. I'd rather do more eating, less work. Okay, so I'm slowly incorporating it. Still needs a tad bit more. And you know what? You may even need more than 4 cups. Who knows? Like I said, it all depends. I'm just going to put that up a little higher. Okay. Let's add in a little bit more. I just don't want to fight with the mixer. That's about 1/2 cup at that point. All right. So total in here, I have about 3.5 cups in my little bowl. I have about 3.5 cups. So as you can see, it's turning a little bit doughy. So we're going to put it up a little higher. Still too hard to work with, so I'm going to add in more flour. Let me just lift this up. Make it easier for myself. Because I'm going to add in the rest. It's looking to be about, I'm probably going to need another 1/2 cup of flour, which would equal a total of 4. So, I'm right. All right. So, let's put that on. Start it off at low. You don't want it flying everywhere. And just work it a little higher. And let's see what it looks like. Well, you never know. I may not need another 1/2 cup. We'll see. We shall see. Okay. Okay, it is turning kind of doughy. So at this point, I suggest to switch to your paddle attachment. And that's what I'm going to do. Okay, excuse my mistake. When I said paddle attachment, I actually meant dough hook. See? All right, so I'm adding in a tad bit more flour mixture. And let's place it down again. There we go. Because this is what's going to knead your dough for 10 to 15 minutes, Unless you're someone who likes to knead your own dough, then bless your soul. Some people will say, oh, well, it comes out better when you do it by hand. Yeah, okay, sure. If you want an excuse for hand kneading, okay. It comes out the same, whether you use a machine or you use your hands. Actually, the machine is actually easier, by far. All right, so, oops, flour shot out everywhere. So I'm going to have that get to a smooth consistency, and I'm going to show you what it looks like once that's done. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Obviously, it's not done yet, but I just want to show you like that smooth consistency that I was talking about before you want to leave it for 10 minutes to knead. I would say 10 to 15 minutes, and you want to check at 10 minutes, see what it looks like. If it has a smooth pizza dough look, then it's ready to be put into a bowl and to let rise for about an hour. I know you're thinking, ew, I could see, ground up almonds in there. Again, don't get nervous by that. Oops, I was covering the microphone. Sorry for the muffle. Don't get nervous by that. I promise you it's going to be delicious, even though it's low carb. Another thing is I sometimes add pecans into my cinnamon rolls, and now I won't because I have a little bit of almonds in there too, and it's good and healthy for you. so the correction, by the way, I said to knead the dough for 10 to 15 minutes. No. 5 to 10 minutes. So this is what it should look like. It should have that pull apart, I can stretch it without it breaking consistency. If it doesn't have that consistency, so you need it for another couple of minutes. You want to check it every 2 minutes or so. Don't go above 10 minutes, because if you don't get that consistency in 10 minutes, it'll still come out good. You're just going to have a very tough time rolling out the dough. Alright, so now I'm going to place this into a bowl. I'm going to cover it loosely with plastic wrap, and I'm going to put it in a warm place for about an hour, and then I'll show you what it looks like. It's supposed to double in size, and I'll show you what it looks like once that's done. Okay, so as you can see, this is now doubled in size, and when I press my finger in it, it comes back up, so it's ready to be punched down. Then I'm going to knead it out into a big rectangle, and I'll show you what it looks like at that point. Okay, so I have it rolled out pretty far. It's all the way out to the edge of my wooden cutting board. I slathered the dough with melted butter, and then I took a cinnamon sugar mix and I sprinkled it. On top of the butter. You can't really see. It's not the greatest camera. It's my cell phone. So, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to roll it this way into almost like a pinwheel. You'll see what it looks like afterwards. So as you can see, I took it lengthwise and I rolled it. I rolled it into like a log, alright? And then all I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut it into strips, and then I'll show you what it looks like after that. I'll cut it into strips, and then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Okay, so when they're cut, this is what they look like. I'm going to put them into about a 9 by 13 glass baking dish. You can put them into the non-stick, whatever you have. I'm going to butter that dish, and I'm going to throw a little sugar on it, and then I'm going to put these in the pan, and I'm going to cover them loosely with plastic and allow them to rise one more time for about 45 minutes. Now what I've done is, since I have my air conditioner on, it's really cold, it's really hot in this house, I put my AC on. It's going to take longer for something to rise. So I put my oven on for 170, and once I hit 170, I turned it off. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to place them in there for that, so they can rise quicker. So instead of taking about 45 minutes, they'll probably take about 25 minutes to rise total. It's a quick trick that I use. Alright, so I'll show you what it looks like after they all go into the pan. Okay, so they're in the buttered and sugared glass pan. I'm going to cover it loosely with some plastic wrap, throw it into my oven so it can rise again. Without it being in a slightly warmed oven, it'll take about 45 minutes to rise. If you throw it into a slightly warmed oven, about 20 to 25 minutes to rise. And I'll show you what they look like. Hopefully they double in size. So I'll show you what they look like once they come out. Okay, so as you can see, they're definitely doubled in size. And they take up the whole 9 by 13. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this with some, I can't believe it's not butter. Then I'm going to take a little bit of the leftover sugar cinnamon and sprinkle the top of it. I'm going to throw it into the oven for about 18 minutes. Then I'll take them out and I'll let them cool. And then I'm going to frost them with a cream cheese frosting. Well, it's like more like a cream cheese icing. I think that just tastes better and it looks better than just a regular glaze. Alright, and I'll show you what they look like after they come out the oven. Okay, so this is what they look like coming out of the oven. I'm just going to wait for them to cool a little bit before I glaze them. I was going to do a cream cheese frosting, but I didn't have enough cream cheese, so I'm just going to do a regular glaze for these, unfortunately. Alright, I'll show you what they look like once I put the glaze on. So this is the finished product. Delicious. The glaze hasn't had a chance to set, but once it's all going to soak into the rolls, and it's just going to be ultimate deliciousness. So this is the finished product. I hope you guys enjoyed this low-carb, sugar-free dessert, and please leave a comment after you tried the recipe and tell me how it came out for you. Okay, thanks for watching.